Hey there and welcome everyone to the 5th season of Melbourne 22.
This is so great. Over the next 12 weeks we plan on showing you this city from different angles, the issues, culture, music, events, everything this town has to offer.
I'm Lisa Williams.
Oh, I thought I was going to be Lisa Williams. I'm Simon Taylor.
Nothing's ever what we expect, but they keep asking where we're going next.
Well, we have a massive show to kick off season 5 of Melbourne 22.
Guest presenter Vasilys from Vasilys Garden takes us around the Melbourne International Flower and Garden Show.
Oh, we get to see what it's like in Melbourne during the White Night Festival. So good.
Cool.
And Static State perform their song Four Walls for us. But first, we take a look at the Comics Lounge. Have you been?
I have not been to the
gotta
Comics
go.
Lounge.
So good. I started my stand-up career. So I had my first ever gig there. Want to know how it went?
I do.
Died.
Oh, did you?
I died real hard.
Oh gosh, what's it like standing in front of a quiet audience?
It's painful, to say the least, but then you get used to it, and then you go, it's okay, this is the worst that can happen, and then you work your way out of it. And the best thing about the Comics Lounge is that you can go to a show every night of the week. So I started with one gig, and then that didn't go well, and then they gave me another shot, and 5 years later I'm performing every night of the week there, so it's so great.
That's fantastic.
They're so good like that. They're always got comedy on, they're dedicated to it. I don't think any other room in Australia does that. So
they nurture new talent, really.
So yeah, well, I'm grateful that they didn't go, nah, you're done. So yeah, they're a great place to like bring friends and family and things like that. So it's such a good night out.
Yeah, perfect. Well, let's take a look at the Comedy Lounge.
Located in the heart of North Melbourne, the Comics Lounge is one of Australia's biggest comedy venues, with the show starting at around 8 p.m. The venue can host up to 450 guests each night for shows with some of the biggest names in Australian comedy, such as Dave Hughes and Tommy Little, as well as comedians who return weekly, such as Doug Chappell.
I like people that sort of want to have fun, want to see comedy and stuff like that. I'm not there to change anyone's mind. But, again, there's some people, because comedy's subjective, so not everyone's going to like your comedy. I just basically want people to not take themselves too seriously, come and just have fun.
Crowds are great. It's the best venue in the world, really. I performed in LA, I performed in New York. It's a really convivial atmosphere that makes comedy great.
It is a tough industry, and mainly because of, there's a lot of rejection, there's a lot of work, and there's no sort of, you don't go to work and you have a boss in there saying, hey, do this, do that. You have to be motivated yourself. The early days there's a lot of work, but you still have to keep working. Because if you stop working, then all of a sudden, you become stale. Never wanted to be a comedian. It was never something that was in my plans. And then my friends, I just went to a comedy, like an open mic night. One day my friend said, you should do that. So I jumped up and been doing it ever since. So.
And I threw my mate's jacket out of the car. And I had to go to court for that. Yeah. He was still in the jacket when I threw him out.
And the best advice I ever got was from the two best comics in this country who are unknown. That's Chris Bennett and Tommy Johnson. And the words they said to me were, just be funny. That's the best thing I ever heard. And that's what it is. That's what it should be. And it's that simple. The best reaction you can ever get is just someone coming up and grabbing you and go, that was so much fun.
I love performing at the Comics Lounge. It is the greatest venue as far as venues are concerned. The staff, the audiences are always great, always packed, great food here. It's a good atmosphere and there's nothing better.
She's walked behind me, grabbed the 20 kilos that I started with, picks it up and goes, you got to start somewhere.
What I really love about the Comics Lounge is the people. I've known the guys from the Comics Lounge, pretty much since I started comedy.
It doesn't get better than this. Seriously, it's 450, 500 people here, and it's one of the funnest nights you'll ever do anywhere.
Headline's the best fun because, you do sort of 40 minutes, 45 minutes and really take the crowd on a journey. And here, especially here on a weekend, you get like 500 people, packed house, just goes off. It's the largest comedy club in Australia.
Oh, she hung up.
You know, there's plenty of times to be sad and to worry about things. So when people come out, there's just that little space where they get to have fun and forget about all those troubles. It's, you know, laughter's one of the best medicines. And so when you get an opportunity to have fun, have a laugh, why not?
Coming up after the break, Vasily from Vasilys Garden to Kitchen joins us to chat about the Melbourne International Flower and Garden Show. Later on, we also take a look at Melbourne's White Night Festival and Static State perform for us. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to Melbourne 22. Simon, before the break we were talking about the Comics Lounge. That to me is still terrifying.
It's pretty good at the Comics Lounge. Like, I've always had good gigs at the Comics Lounge, except the first one. But since then, I've worked it out. I've done just fine. But my worst ever gig was never there.
Where was your first worst gig?
My first worst? Oh, man, it was in Queensland. I was at Bond University and I was doing 40 minutes, which is a bit too long when you're just starting out.
That's quite long, actually.
Doing fine for 30.
Yep.
And then I'm like, oh, I've got this. I'm really like, oh, man, I'm a comedy god. And then I got a bit too confident and I told like a rude joke, like I went a bit too far. And then the crowd turned on me. They went from ha-ha to, oh, no. You're done. And they turn their chairs around.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's mortifying.
Yeah. So that was, but that's the worst that can happen. I mean,
Okay.
it's nothing too sinister.
You just deep breathe, develop your thick skin.
Yeah. But you
Move
live
on.
a dangerous life. Cafes of Melbourne, you got your hand in cafes of Melbourne. You organise hikes, you do youth work, but you're also into the gardening, I know this.
I am very much into the gardening and I'm super excited about what we've got coming up right now. Vasily from Vasilys Garden is taking us around the Melbourne International Garden Show. Take a look.
International. Have a look.
Melbourne International Flower and Garden Show. We're here to check out all the wonderful stalls and designs. We've got some great winners this year and plants as well.
See you in my bag, factor 15 in my hand. Let's hope the weather stays nice.
So you're into floral arrangements, is that what you teach?
Absolutely. I teach the floristry course at Box Hill Institute. This takes about 4 or 5 months to prepare. In terms
the actual
of design.
display,
the design and getting together with the carpentry students who put together this amazing base. And then I take my florist designs to my friends in the institute and say, how do we make this happen? And they put together all this stuff. And from there, I organise with my students to come in and they help do the amazing designs.
We are the licensing agent for MIFGS, the Melbourne International Flower and Garden Show, and we give our heritage gardens, the Carlton Gardens, over to the International Flower and Garden Show every year. We've just licensed them for 3 more years, and we are delighted with its success. We actually had 2 shows. We had a flower show and a garden show, and neither of them were terribly successful. So putting them together gave them some critical mass. Taking them down to the Carlton Gardens gave them a really beautiful home, and it's grown every year since then. So now over 100,000 people attend the Melbourne International Flower and Garden Show. You know, there are the major stands of gardens outside, which are just incredible in the amount of work that goes into putting them in, and then the cut flowers and the displays inside the beautiful exhibition buildings. The one thing that I've noticed that's changed over the last few years, and I think that will be an increasing effort from the gardeners, sustainable gardens, gardens that are water sensitive, and they are a particular feature of the show now.
When the sun goes out of sight, then we'll know that it's...
Now describe the garden here itself. It's food forest and it's an outdoor edible area. How many different sections have you got outside?
So exactly right, we've tried to create a forest, so we'll start from the kitchenette and you wander out to the other side of the garden, and we've tried to create a bit of a picnic area where you feel like you're inside a forest but of food. And then over this side it's a bit more sort of for kids, I suppose. We call it Kid Corner. It's got your hopscotch with the logs, and it's got the chickens underneath the bench seats, and you can even slide down through the veggie patch.
Your favourite section?
I reckon probably that picnic area out the front there. It really has a nice feeling when you're sitting down and you're clucking your feet amongst the thyme and the lemon verbena there.
By comparison, tell me, what's it like? Sydney, Melbourne versus, we always got a little bit of rivalry.
Yeah, a bit of rivalry.
Hey, just remember, you are still in Melbourne.
I realise that. I'm surrounded. Down here in Melbourne, I think it is the greatest garden show in the Southern Hemisphere, celebrating its 20th birthday.
He's talking about my garden show here, you realise.
Vasilys International Flower and Garden Show. It's going off. He's been working hard for a long time. He's a bit disappointed that I haven't supported it before 20, but I thought I'm not going to come down at number 13 or number 16. That doesn't have enough ceremony.
Not enough rings.
The 20th, it's like
beautiful.
Or actually,
hey,
a bit more.
The accordion's here. Don't do that, mate. I'll make it dance.
The blood will start to boil.
Melbourne International Flower and Garden Show, you folks, it gets better every year. This year it's quite amazing. The atmosphere is vibrant. A lot of people enjoying themselves. If you haven't been to a festival like this, make sure you put it in your diary for next year at least to come down here, check out Melbourne International Flower and Garden Show. It's the biggest and best flower garden show in the Southern Hemisphere, and I guarantee you in years to come, it'll be the best all over the world. From me, Vasilys, Maresi.
Joining us in studio is Vasilys from Vasilys Garden. Thank you so much for coming in.
It's a pleasure. Nice to meet you both. Nice to be here.
Yeah. You've just been at the Melbourne International Garden Show.
Yes, I have.
How fantastic.
It's gorgeous. It's one of the best in the world, really. You've got to go there. Have you been yourself?
I haven't been.
Yeah? You've got to go.
We need to get there.
Oh, yeah. Lots of plants.
But you've been doing this for ages. Is there anything that you learn at the garden show that surprises you, or you know everything that's going on?
Pretty much know everything.
Oh, wow, you're on top of it.
Yeah, I am actually. I've been around for 14, 15 years in the production of gardening shows, and as far as a gardener, I've been doing it for 30 years. So actually I grew up in the garden with mum and dad. So yeah, it's a second nature to me. It's part of my lifestyle. Right. So seeing the garden show itself in action and what they offer there nowadays in Melbourne, it's one of the best, if not the best. They have the Chelsea overseas and all that, but I still think Melbourne's by far better.
What impresses you most about the Melbourne one?
The diverse variety of plants you see growing in an atmosphere and climate that we have, because we're all known to be more of a cold climate, and over the years we've become more temperate, so we can grow those avocados and those mangoes you see in the tropical regions, and they do really well in Melbourne. So you're seeing that adaptation of edible plants coming into the garden these days, and the design work is not just flowering plants, it's including edibles, so there's a mixture going on, so it's called the edible garden nowadays.
We were going to ask about good plans for apartments and things like that.
My granny actually had a good question for you when she found out that we were interviewing you today.
Yes.
She said,
fangirl.
Yeah, you've
She's
got a
fangirl.
Be over 60. She's over 60.
Fantastic.
She's well on to 90.
All right, go on.
She just downsized her house and she has minimal space now. She wants to know what the most economical vegetable you can grow from a balcony or patio is.
Okay, your lettuce. On a small courtyard environment, a couple of lettuce plants and constantly harvest the outside of the leaves. The plant will grow taller, but you'll have lettuce coming out there for 3 or 4 months. 2 plants.
Right.
So you don't have to buy. Yeah.
Tabbouleh galore.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, so courtyards are getting smaller. And the properties are getting tighter and tighter, so you need to go downsize in the space that you have and get used to growing less but make it more. So don't chop them out and dig them up. Just pick slowly.
Well, I understand that your background is you've been brought up in the garden. Tell us a little bit about that. How has culture influenced what you do now today?
My parents had a garden at home. My dad decided to bulldoze the house down and turn it into a vegetable garden.
Wow.
Yeah, so
we slept in the garden?
Pretty much. We had a shed at the back, and
that was flower bed.
No, in the chook pen, mate. In the chook. So we kept it nice and warm with the chook manure. And we basically every day after work used to go into the garden. Dad's after work and start harvesting, picking fresh produce from the garden. And it was second nature to me. And we had a sheep too, so we had our own pet sheep. It was really good. And as I grew up, I saw many people, my generation, who never delved out into the garden to experience the same lifestyle. And, unfortunately, mum and dad or grandparents have passed on. And they've inherited some property and it's got the fruit trees, it's got the veggie garden, and they come running to me and saying, how do I look after it? You know, it was always there for me, but now they're not there. How do I do it? And that's the change of culture. And that's the old culture coming back into regeneration of looking after edible gardens. So the young ones are really taking it on wholeheartedly.
Well, you always sign off your show with saying, I like it in Greek. Do you want to do that for us now?
Yeah.
Throw it a break.
It's Melbourne 22 from me, Vasilys. Maresi.
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 Hey, welcome back to Melbourne 22. And before the break, we were talking to Vasilys from Vasilys Gardens.
What a character.
Such a brilliant dude. Well, he's been on Channel 31 for ages. So
like 12 years.
Yeah, what an institution. And I got pretty excited about the International Flower and Garden Show. What did you like about it?
I loved the food forest.
So good.
What a grass idea, surrounded by things you can eat.
I'll be honest with you, I don't think I want to see anything else there. Oh, Simon, there's lots of flowers to see. No, I'm here. I'm eating all the things.
Too busy eating.
I want those plants.
Oh,
I'll
gosh.
never go to the supermarket.
That's
That'd
what my
be the best.
backyard looks like, actually.
That'd be the best.
But hey, another cool thing coming up in Melbourne on February 20, 2016 is White Night Festival.
So good.
Have you ever been?
I've never been.
Neither have
I need to get there.
Super excited about this little snippet we've put together for you, so take a peek. White Night Festival.
White Night is an annual festival held in Melbourne during February each year since 2013. The concept for White Night was conceived in France in 2002 in a bid to make art more accessible within public spaces to large audiences. White Night provides a platform for local and international artists to showcase their work across the streets of Melbourne.
The idea of White Night came from former Premier Ted Baillieu, but it's a very well-known phenomenon from around the world. Nuit Blanche, it's called in Paris, and I remember many years ago Eddie Maguire bringing me the idea to do exactly that, a White Night in the city. It began by attracting a huge crowd, 300,000 for its first year, but just 3 years later it grew to 500,000 people. So it's a remarkable success. What we have to work out now is how do we spread out White Night so that people can enjoy it, and so we manage that very large crowd.
Been a White Night for the last 2 years. I think it's a great festival that Melbourne puts on. It's good to see a lot of people just come out, enjoy their time. I think the best thing I like about it just runs all night, and you know, you can enjoy with your mates.
You thought the ones that never quite made it, underpaid and overrated, sold the dream of what the streets were paved with.
I like the Alice in Wonderland stuff. Flinders Street Station was very beautiful, and if you went down to the State Library, the dome was the rabbit hole, and it sort of mimicked falling down the rabbit hole as Alice does at the start of the story.
Melbourne's seen as the sporting capital of the world and got great food and cafes, but I think with White Night it just emphasises the diversity that Melbourne has to offer.
Melbourne has really built its success on events. It's built its success on bringing interesting things to the city that people can do regardless of their interest.
How fantastic is that?
They're
I'm
popping and
definitely
locking.
putting that in my diary for next year.
So good. They had so much on there. The buskers, the dancers. There's food there, right?
Oh, food trucks.
I'm in. I can't wait.
Oh, it's fantastic. And I heard that earlier this year they had a 12-hour Bach performance. 12 hours on a giant organ.
Just playing Bach
St.
for 12
Paul's
hours
Cathedral.
straight. Oh my
Phenomenal.
gosh. That's like repetitive strain issues.
Something like that.
I've played like computers for that long, but like that's some serious work.
That's commitment, isn't it? Well, Simon, let's take a look at the events that are coming up in Melbourne. The Eureka Challenge. Embark on a tour of Hellenic architectural and design influences in Melbourne. Melbourne's Spring Racing Carnival showcases all that Victoria's horse racing has to offer, such as fashion on the fields and the race that stops a nation, the Melbourne Cup. The future of virtual and augmented reality. At this family-friendly event on October 22nd, you'll hear from leading technologists and get to try these new technologies for yourself.
Yeah, Melbourne. That's my excited voice. Yeah.
That's pretty cool,
So much to do, so much to look forward to. And we've had a good look at what goes on Melbourne this episode. Comics Lounge, 7 nights a week.
Perfect.
You can laugh 7 nights a week. That's a good deal. Then we had, the International Flower and Garden Show.
Back next year for sure.
Just go for the food.
Go for the
Eat
food.
things off
Edible
the trees.
forests.
And then, of course, White Night.
White Night is going to be amazing.
We've got to go.
I'm going
We've got to do
I'm going to
it.
drink that much coffee that
Yeah.
I'll be up till 7 a.m.
You'll be overstimulated. I'm going to do teas and just mellow out and take it in. You're going to be like, oh man, it's all
Technicolor
everywhere.
lights.
Well,
I
that's so
know.
good. All right, well, look, to take us out, we have a band. Who are we looking at?
We're looking at Static State with their song Four Walls.
Can't wait. My name's Simon Taylor. I miss you already.
I'm Lisa Williams.
There's a new